Right.
Okay, hey, listen.
Yes, sir, Dad.
Come on, join me over here
Oh, okay.
if you will.
I certainly will.
Yeah, but we haven't been at this in 2 weeks, right?
Well, we haven't had a moment to have a moment in time.
We haven't had a moment. We have lots of moments at a time. But let me share something with you. I'm feeling very much a bit of upness about.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, about a couple of things that have
More
happened.
unusual than, more, more up than usual?
I don't want to say more than usual because I'm usually up, especially about 10 o'clock anyway.
Yes, you are.
But that's beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, I received this book that I had asked for from Barnes and Noble called The Reckoning.
Ah,
By-
The Reckoning.
The Reckoning by the president's niece, Mary Trump.
Oh, yes, I do remember. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book.
This is the book.
That's the book.
Mary L. Trump.
Mm-hmm.
PhD. Okay. Our nation's trauma and finding a way to heal.
Okay, that's some of what you just read.
Mm-hmm.
But what struck me, I want to read something from the book in just a minute, just a little excerpt.
Mm-hmm.
But what struck me in a very, very powerful way is what it is that this woman is saying, what it is that she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to be racial about it, but you very, very seldom pick up books and read about what has happened with the American situation that's been happening since we got here.
Thank you. If the truth were to be told.
If truth be told.
Mm-hmm.
I expect to come across certain kinds of information from Caste, or the origins of our discontent.
This one?
Okay,
Oh, yes.
this is a
Wilkerson.
black author.
Oh, here we go.
And in my head, what happened was that after reading that, I felt I had a pretty good grip on why it is that things became.
She's cute.
Yeah, it's Isabel Wilkerson.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pretty good grip on what it is, why it is that things became the way they became in this country on a racial level. She does a beautiful job at that. As a matter of fact, she points out at some section of the book, one section of the book, that the Nazis, Hitler's racial guys, Goebbels and Goering and the whole thing of them, looked at the way the Anglo-Americans had designed the racial system here, which might be called systemic racism, looked at the way they designed things here and made copies of that for their own regime.
Okay.
You know, they thought that, well, this is the way racism was supposed to operate, and we know from the historical development that they did wind up doing what they did, some of it based on the American, I hate to say it, the Anglo-American racist concept of dealing with others.
Right.
That's in that book.
Okay.
Okay, that goes only up to a certain point. The clinical psychologist, Mary Trump, as you know, she'd been on almost everybody's show at one point, all the MSNBC people, Lawrence O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow, and whoever.
Right.
And she's so matter of fact sometimes that, you know,
She's regular people.
Yeah, I mean,
so you can really identify her. You can appreciate what she's saying.
Yeah.
And she makes it straight and clear. You know, she breaks it on down.
Okay, the impact of what she's saying is like, oh, did she say that?
Yeah.
Okay, you know, she identified her uncle. Evidently, she really pissed him off, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
She identifies him as one of the most dangerous men in the world. And for many people who couldn't wrap their heads around that idea,
Right.
she proceeds to point the finger at how he is and what he has done to indicate, as a clinical psychologist, that's what I'm trying to get to. As a clinical psychologist, she doesn't count a lot on hearsay and just being angry or anything like that. She's very, as you say, she's very precise.
Very fact, you know, yeah.
Very factual. Okay. Give you a little example of what she has in that book.
Okay.
This one, in my little note that you typed, thank you, on August 19th, I started off with something very bravado like, friends, Romans, countrymen,
There you go.
all y'all.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Run out right now and get The Reckoning by Mary L. Trump, PhD, the ex-president's niece. This is the only book that I've ever read written by a white person that lays it all out. Here's an example of what is in The Reckoning. Okay, you got Tim Weiss, you got a number of white commentators and sociologists and others, but somehow it strikes me that she seemed to be the only one saying, well, let me just read this in the show. If we want to create a society in which there really is equal justice for all, we got to level the playing field and dismantle every part of the system that grants white Americans earned privilege at the cost of oppressing others.
Well said.
Reparations are a way to do that. I don't know who I've read who just came out and said something like that in the second sentence. Reparations are a way to do that. The concept is straightforward. Beginning 400 years ago, millions of men, women, and children were forcibly removed from their homes. 400,000 of them were brought to the American colonies, where they were sold and forced to work for no wages.
Exactly.
This was a permanent condition. Once enslaved, they were enslaved for life, and their children were enslaved after them. Their lives were constantly in danger, and their families could be broken up at any time. By the time slavery was abolished in 1865, the number of people living in bondage in the United States had grown to 4 million. Every generation since has been shut out of the economic and educational benefits that were regularly bestowed on whites. There's no way to compensate for the loss of life or the destroyed potential or the fallout from the resulting traumas, but reparations will, as far as possible, return what has been stolen until the playing field is leveled.
Wow.
America is not a democracy. Until everybody eligible is allowed to vote unimpeded, America is not a democracy. As long as a majority of the majority doesn't have a problem with the deliberate economic plunder and disenfranchisement of large swaths of the population, and as long as the rest of us ignore it, because to pay attention would be to challenge our privilege, nothing will change.
Well said.
So this occurs, like in the last chapter of the book. But it's Mary L. Trump's The Reckoning. This book right here. I don't push other people's books because I write books myself.
Yes.
But I think it was.
And the Caste.
Yeah, and those two books. Those two books. I don't know. It's real crazy, but we keep stumbling up against this notion that all we have to do is vote for the other party or or change the color of the campaign sign or do this and that. And when somebody can let, until certain conditions are met, you will never have an equal society, free and equal society.
Yeah.
What is that? Why is that so hard?
I mean, from the founding fathers, their point of view did not include us.
Yeah,
okay, and so consequently, those that are historically aware, when they say founding fathers, well, they weren't thinking about us. You know, sort of like, you know, we're the bastard children.
Okay, I mean, but you know, what puzzles me is that information has been out there for so long.
But no, in first, second, third grade, when you're talking about George Washington, you know, Thomas Jefferson, think about what they say. You know, you might be going to, you know, Thomas Jefferson Elementary School. Okay.
George Washington.
Okay, and not George Washington Carver.
No.
Okay, no. Okay, and so you were, you know, we were taught, our thought patterns were conditioned, the propaganda began then. Okay, and so we celebrate 4th of July and, you know, all of that, the trappings that come with being American. But it's difficult for those who are historically aware that when all of this began, we were not included.
Yeah, and it's so crazy.
Okay, but we're not, you know, that is not emphasized when you're in 3rd and 4th grade. You draw the flag and you're all happy and everything. And then when you encounter racism, or when you encounter some type of difficulties, and you say, but I'm American just like you, and you meet a person who does not have that point of view, you know, they want you know, you go back to Africa, okay?
Oh, wait. Oh, Zola, I was gonna get right into that because one of the things that happened to me, going to Ghana, West Africa in 1992, where, as you know, I lived for 3 years till 1995, and I didn't think I was the most up-to-date guy on all of the racial nuances of America and so on and so on.
Right.
But one of the things I was aware of is the fact, as you say, the founding fathers, I should gone up, in Jefferson's case, the founding daddy, I could say with ease, there's an ideal America, an idealistic America, and then there's the real America. And for 3 solid years, I went with my friends to the Salazar bar, where we sat up, and I don't know, I think I became something like a local celebrity, because for some people who came there, some of them had not been to America, they've been to England, they've been to Belgium, they've been to other places. 2 or 3 people have been to America for short periods of time, and they chose to consider themselves Ghanaians who had been to America for a minute and then rush back home for their fufu and light soup.
Yes. And
they refused, initially, to acknowledge that being black in America was not a particularly advantageous thing. Case in point, I don't want to mention the brother's name, but he had spent time in New Jersey, I believe, or Pennsylvania, your state. And he decided to combat me. You know, I'm trying to tell the truth about the America I had experienced up to that time.
Right.
And he said, well, you know, I didn't have that problem. I guess it was because I was African. I said, no, you're lying to these people. Because, you know, they haven't been there. I mean, here's my friend Nigel, who talks about having a very difficult time in London, in the section of London he was in, and it was because of his race. Somebody else talks about having gone to Eastern Europe. One of the people had gone to Hungary.
Oh, okay.
At one point, after Kwame Nkrumah came to power, he wanted to have some of his people. He was taking advantage of the little political yang that was going on between the East and the West.
Mm-hmm.
So they were sending some of their young people to Eastern Europe, to Hungary and to Poland.
Okay.
And it was interesting because they had some guys who spoke fluent Hungarian, which is a very complicated language,
I'm sure.
spoke fluent Polish. And, you know, they had gone to the Eastern country and, you know, later on when the Cold War started and the Berlin Wall came up,
Mm-hmm.
they no longer sent them to the Eastern countries, they sent them to be educated in the United States. I think our friend Kojo Yanka wound up at Lincoln University.
Okay, I'm sure. Okay.
Anyway, he but I'm talking to them about what could happen to you
Mm-hmm.
if you were an African American, if you were a person of color, period,
Mm-hmm.
in the United States, simply because of the history that was stacked up against us. As you know, we go from not learning a whole bunch in school, except for the stuff we struggled to find out about,
Right.
having gone to DuSable.
Well, also having Dr. Margaret Burroughs.
Dr. Margaret Burroughs.
Who was like, you know, who said, whoa, you know, that's not quite the way it was. Okay.
Okay, people like her, you're right,
Mm-hmm.
really stressed
Mm-hmm.
the idea of learning all you could about yourself and where you came from and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy ironic that here we are just after Obama, when it looked like the door was going to open for the truth about our history.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to call all of them racist,
Mm-hmm.
but now the white people want to close the door on what little history we thought we had,
Yeah.
what little history
Well,
we understood.
What tickles me is when they say that makes them feel uncomfortable. Yo, I've got a whole ancestral background which were very uncomfortable, okay? You know, being tarred and feathered, being hung, being
That make you very uncomfortable, I think.
Yes, being beaten, being hungry, working from
nothing.
sun up to sundown, makes you uncomfortable.
Make you uncomfortable.
Just a little,
Yeah.
like a little pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, well, you know, they're not going to get away with it because
Yeah.
the pushback has already started, always been there.
You know, I'm glad to see that, you know, it's snowballed to where Asians, where the gay community, where the indigenous...
If you whitewash their history, then what are you going to do with us?
Right. So everybody's joined the bandwagon and saying everybody's history deserves to be shown,
Yeah.
you know, be spotlighted. Some of it will not be really white. Some of it will not be, you know, something one can appreciate. But it is the history. This is not 1984 where you have the Ministry of History rewrite history.
But I think they
want it to be.
Yeah, they would like to. They would like to.
No, but you know, when you start lying on a grand scale, watch what happens in your own family. Because if it's on a grand scale, your children will start lying, your parents will start lying. You know, lying will be the thing. You
Well,
know,
that happened. That happened a
which
long time ago.
yeah, but-
It's frankly, I think it's one of the reasons why Trump was able to accomplish what he did accomplish, because there were people who were willing to accept his lies as their truths,
Yeah.
and they lied to themselves. You know, you got to ask yourself, why would somebody who has had a privileged position in this country, I don't care how poor you were, who's had a privileged position in this country just because they were white, who would be able to do things that no person of color could do or think about doing, and on and on and on. How could they feel that they've been victimized up to the point of wanting to have a coup d'etat and change things in order to give themselves more power and more privilege? You know, you got to look at, man, wait a minute. I got a poem. I got a poem called
crazy?
"Is Y'all Crazy?"
Is y'all crazy?
Is y'all crazy?
Yeah.
I don't know how it gets to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, as you explained to me before, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, on that point, in Alice in Wonderland, there's the Mad Hatter. Okay. And as a child, I was wondering, why, what's with the Mad Hatter? And then history will tell you that at one point, they put mercury in the bands of hats. And it did have effect on the brain.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
The Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter. So, and anyway, that was more than a fairy tale. That was a historical tale. Okay, but it was so well written that, off with their heads.
I'm about to read that again.
Okay, off with their heads. Just, punishment that was being handed out unjustly. Okay, but Carol did it so well.
Yeah.
He didn't, and I like the tale of supposedly Alice, when the worm looks at her and he says, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I knew who I was this morning, but I've been through so many changes, I'm not sure who I am right now." And that, applies to so many people. But
yeah.
my mother...
Oh, off with their heads. The Mad Hatter?
It was...
You know what that looks like? If you hold it up, it looks like a beautiful, painting from just a few feet away. Until I looked at it close, I discovered it is Queen Jewel.
Queen Jewel Gray. Mosley Gray.
Who was a long way from being a Mad Hatter.
No.
Although she did have some mad hats.
She did have some mad, wild hats. And she had, I think, only about 360 or 400 when this picture was taken. And I think before her death, she may have had 500 to 600 hats. And hats and gloves were a thing on the family, but she did take it to the extreme, definitely. And this is my mother. Mother-in-law.
Yes.
And she passed away.
One of the greatest mother-in-laws anybody ever had, trust me.
Yes, she passed away in September of 2019, September 6th. Totally missed, but I'm wearing a hat, Mom. Okay? One that I think you would even approve.
Yeah,
she didn't like caps.
She
didn't like caps, but she wanted you to wear a hat.
Okay, well, we had decided that we would have a little chit chat about the book and mention hats and yes.
Before we go, you really should mention the 2 books that are coming out regarding you.
Oh.
Okay.
That's right. Well, why don't you mention them? I mean, I'm not good about talking about myself.
Oh, Odie Hawkins, please.
Really?
Okay. Well, there's Ghetto Sketches 2021. Which should be out, I think, by September or October. And
this is the 3rd release of that book.
Yes, the release of Ghetto Sketches, but it's a new and updated, new cover, updated version of Ghetto Sketches, now called Ghetto Sketches 2021. And then there's Conversations with Rufus, Liquor Store Rufus. Conversations with Liquor Store Rufus, which puts a whole new spin on liquor store.
Okay, since everybody knows everything about Ghetto Sketches, I just mentioned what the road map for the book is. I was living on Washburn Avenue. I was born on the west side of Chicago. Racine and something. I think it was Racine and Washburn. And I looked up and down the street one day. I thought how interesting it would be to write a book about all the people who lived up on this side of the street, I guess the west side of the street, and all the people who lived up on the east side of the street. And it wasn't very hard to do because in my mind's eye, I could start right at the corner and go down. I knew every house. I knew every little gangway and passageway and you know, Reverend A.T. Tiller's church, and little passageway. Right next to that was a mom and pop store, and then there was a garden that was below the level of the sidewalk. It was crazy. They had a dog down there in that thing, and a pole running across the garden from one wall to another, and a mad dog. And we used to, a few of us crazy people, used to go down, climb down, and walk on this pole while this dog was, he was a medium-sized dog, while he was snapping and trying to bite us. And I did it 3 times and stopped because I lost my nerve. And then my auntie's basement, where we had 15 dogs.
Hey.
Yeah, she loved dogs. She kept them in the coal cellar. She would find a dog somewhere, and then when they had puppies, it was just incredible. Anyway, and I could go down the street and up the other side of the street. On the other side of the street, they had a little Jewish mom and pop store, Mr. Denoff's. Next to him, they had a railway car where they sold penny candy.
Oh, really? Okay.
They don't sell these anymore. This is ancient history. A little sheet of paper that looked like a sales receipt with little droplets of chocolate.
They had it when I was coming up.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, but they had mostly icing. And
wow.
I got a chance to have some of it as a teenager and hardly could eat one piece because my taste buds had changed, or else maybe the recipe had changed.
Yeah. Well, the idea in my head was to do stories about the people who lived on the street, and that's what the Ghetto Sketches is about. That's the framework, and then within that framework, I tried to do some questioning stories about what the society would be like if the people on that street had equal opportunities and so forth and so. People would call it a protest novel. It's not so much a protest as it is an explanation and a description of what the situation is.
Right.
If that's protest, then so
be it.
Historical. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I think the protest novel is a story that you're forced to tell. You know, I think a lot of us would rather not spend a lot of time in that particular genre, but until we have a level playing field, until this becomes a democracy, the way it looks now, the battle is for democracy or autocracy.
Right.
And if the wrong people win in the next election, the next presidential election, we'll have a dictatorship like so many other countries have had. A lot of people here who would not like to think that can happen, but all you have to do is look at DeSantis in Florida, or Abbott in Texas, or some of these other governors who have supported the Trump agenda and want to carry it on that way.
Right.
But what we always do on Monday is have readings of pieces that I've written.
That's on Tuesday. This is a moment in time.
This is a moment in time.
We discuss. Okay. Yes, we discuss. And so.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you reminded me.
Okay, and I should mention that both books will be coming out through Author House.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've wandered away from the track.
Yes, okay. Both books will be coming out through Author House, but they can also be purchased on Amazon as soon as they're published. And we will let you know, so stay tuned.
Okay, well, I mentioned something about Ghetto Sketches. I'll say just a few words in brief about Liquor Store Rufus. I wanted to come up with an iconoclastic character, and I think I did. With Liquor Store Rufus. His real name is Dixon. Montague Dixon III. And he has a very, very complex, colorful background. At the end of the day, he winds up panhandling in front of a liquor store. But he's not just simply there begging and accepting whatever is given him. For one thing, for example, he refuses to accept metal money. No. what is this, a quarter?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I like paper.
Yes,
I can do more with it. Even if you said give me cheap paper, that means $1.
Right.
If you give me cheap paper, I would really prefer more expensive paper, like
Yeah.
$1, $2, $3, $4, $5.
Yeah. So you can go to Trader Joe's and.
So I can go and buy my cat some good cat food.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Trader Joe's and get some tofu, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really trying to alter my diet for less fewer.
That's what
You know,
Liquor Store
to
Rufus is all about.
get more plant-based food into my system.
Yes, yes.
He's hustling, he's panhandling in front of a liquor store, but he doesn't drink.
Yeah.
The only reason that he decided to establish himself in front of the liquor store is because he knows that people who do drink tend to be a little bit more generous than non-drinkers.
Mm-hmm.
And he winds up talking to this writer whose name is Willie West.
Yes.
And Willie West, he's a historian, and the rest is conversation with the liquor store Rufus. And that's all I got to say.
I'm glad. Well,
I'm glad we could get together this evening.
me too.
Yeah, it's always interesting talking to you.
Yes, indeed.
I wish we could do it more often.
We must.
Ain't the time, ain't the place. I mean, anytime.
For
Meet
the-
you in the kitchen.
For the rest of our lives.
For the rest of our, hey, that's a good.
That's
I like that. I like that.
all right.
I'll have my guys talk to your guys,
And then we'll work out something.
And then we'll
get the
work out
schedule
the-
together.
Yeah.
And then we'll get the schedule together with you guys.
Yeah.
How about that? All right. So, welcome to another moment in time. And enjoy each of your moments in time.
I heard that.
All right.
Oh.
It is.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
All right. Take you in a
Thank
minute.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you. See you.
See you.
See ya.